top open world games with vehicles in them that came out after this. We are looking at 2019's Rage 2, and my name is Catch Coop. The criminally overlooked Mad Max came out in 2014. Can you believe that? And I think there's some influence here. Death Stranding potentially is in there. Atomic Heart actually has some weird vehicle sections, but billing it as a full-blown open world is a big sell. Don't forget the Grand Theft Auto franchise, you might have heard of that. My point being, these are strong games, but my God, are they as strong as Rage 2? Metal Gear Solid 5. Our journey starts with me plugging my PlayStation 5 review of the game about a year and a half ago. It still gets comments, it still gets views, it was very healthy. It's obviously of interest over on the Sony side, and it is a massive shame that it hasn't been given an SSD update or even running at above 1080. Damn thing's 30 FPS. It's a mess and it broke my heart. It is still totally playable though, and you are missing out if you've never gone towards this game and you own a Sony system. I totally recommend looking at it anyway. But the sweet spot is, of course, if you've been on the channel lately, the old PC Ultra settings, and we've got 1080 60 frames per second, and I didn't have to lower anything, but I did have to remove all of that annoying graphical improvements in inverted commas to give me a lovely crisp look, and we got there in the end. But some of this is early, and you'll see that when the camera settles, stuff changes. My last video on the topic of this sort of PlayStation 5 non-updated cool PlayStation 4 games was with heat. I had to take some things down on heat in order for it to run at a pegged frame rate, but with this, nothing whatsoever fluctuated. Dang, id Software know how to make a good first-person shooter. Rage 1 was an absolutely stellar piece of software, and you've also got the new Doom game coming up, The Dark Ages. Id are one of the few studios software houses that are in-house that have not budged on quality. Quantity, but not quality. Let's talk about exactly what Rage 2 is. Essentially, this is a sequel. It's set 30 years after the first game, and game model-wise is extremely faithful. Everything's just ramped up. I spoke about this in the PlayStation 5 video. I won't go on about it too much, but Rage 1 completely blew every 8th generation console owner away. It looked incredible on the Xbox 360. I will never forget it. First thing you'll be noticing, if you are unfortunate enough to only have played this on a Sony system, it's how gorgeous the depth of field is and how snappy all of the gun action is and the sliding around. Generally, frames looking beautiful and kicking out some extremely cool effects for 2019. This would have blown me away if I'd bought it day one on PC and had a NASA rig. Now, this isn't just hyperbole. Have a look at this explosion layer. It does make me think about Mad Max in 2014, to be fair. Before we sort of intensely get into the combat, because it is one of the sellers of this video game, I want to talk about how natural the traversal feels. If you played Mass Effect 1, you'll know how bouncy that big track felt. This is kind of the same reliable feeling, although there's not that low grav bouncy castle thing going on. But it's just fun is what I'm trying to get at. And something you consistently notice is that the ground and dissipation, rocks, boulders, cactuses, things get knocked over, not a lot is bolted down. It all feels quite luxurious and high production, and the vehicle itself, your main traversal vehicle, because I think there's up to 16, actually talks to you in a female voice, just like the fridge in Atomic Heart. You strike quite a strange relationship up with this thing because it's something you upgrade, it can be spawned in, and you can rock up to enemy bases and just unleash all of its cannons on unsuspecting pedestrians.
I'm telling you, this...
In actual fact, they are that confident in how fun their driving system is that they've put in a huge Grand Prix-like apocalypse circuit in the centre of the map, and there's perks and things to win, different skins for your other vehicles. There's quite a lot of incentive, and I was thinking this is going to be so tack on. If you played Borderlands, you'll know what I mean. It's kind of a gimmick, but no way. Full-blown amazing action, using the boost, using the brake, not half-assed at all.
You're driving straight into a goddamn meat grinder!
Traveling in a vehicle doesn't come with an in-car view, which it probably would have done if it had gotten remastered. It'd sort that out, but it does have adjustments on where the camera sits. There's only 2 settings, but it's quite cool to be able to pull it up right almost to eye level, a bit more immersive. Staying on the subject of immersion, let's get over to that combat, because I've been itching to talk about it, and my god, very few games come to this level of intensity. Very few. I think the reasons for that are just its experience with AI and how to make them look formidable and move around naturally, and all of the sort of wound animations and mechanics, but the explosions, the sound, the music, everything comes together beautifully with Rage 2. A lot or most of the enemies are kind of humanoid silhouetted. There's no real grotesque, massive, crazy monsters in this game, but there are loads of mutants and orcs and radioactive freaks. And that mutant TV clip you just saw and some of this underground early sewage stuff is still ridiculously good to this day. Like, I was prepared for it, I was ready for it, and it still left me in a cold sweat. This game's a little bit like being slapped in the face a bit, and then all of a sudden it just hits you with a closed fist and it's like, look out, punch incoming. I actually don't think there's a better feeling and sounding shotgun in a first-person shooter out there than the one you're given in Rage 2. And that brings me over to how the upgrades work, how the projects are implemented, and your gun and the skill tree. If you don't proactively go into that options menu and buy stuff and open things, you're going to sit at level 1 for the entire game, which is something I kind of did when I first got to this. You never find a new gun, new weapon. They are awarded to you when you get to the Arks, and it incrementally opens up. You get to an RPG, you get this amazing pistol, which we'll look at in a second, but more importantly, you get your staple shotgun and assault rifle to get going with, and they can be upgraded from there on in, including skins and damage and clip size, but it's not a looter shooter, and that's a big weight off. You can really just concentrate on finding ammo and firing it. You might have heard me mention Borderlands earlier, and it's got a very similar system with the hubs and the towns around an open section of map. Quest boards that have got assassinations on them. No real standalone side quests other than the ones you get from the NPCs, but there's more than enough to do on question marks with the map and finding out loot and treasure via that Ark system. It does that thing that you see with other games. We saw it with latter Assassin's Creed, where you need to level up in order to move forward with a particular NPC who then has more campaign for you, so to speak. Now, this is done with finding those Arks as mentioned, but also carrying out mutant outposts, takeovers, or even just bulldozing one of the petrol stations that are often occupied by a lot of the raiders. The variety is kept up, is my point, and you can proactively just go off and do your own thing and start looking for stuff because the map is super detailed. There is a section sort of mid-game where you're not given any more main quests because you need to level up with the characters that occupy the regions, and again, that one wasn't too obvious to me. They have also made the residents just crazy enough to be feasibly existing in a post-apocalyptic landscape like this. Some of it is out and out strangeness. We are now at what I consider the graphical optimum for the game on my system. And you might be like, why have you only got this at 1080? What that sort of does is frees up loads of my space for other effects. If I was running this at 2K or 4K, I would not be able to have it on Ultra. So I can only apologize to the viewer for that, but I still feel it's a hell of a looker in 2025. And you can just ride your car right through any of that. None of it's cordoned off. You can do a massive jump off a boulder, roll in the air and explode in a fireball, and you'll be smiling from ear to ear. Enough about my gameplay. let's talk about advanced combat meta, particularly in the vehicle for starters. You have a really cool sandworm boss, which I'll show you in a second, but the idea of it is to get the enemy in front of you, then you've got an auto aim on your standard cannons, but you can then start getting missiles, huge Gatling guns, there's an electricity EMP device. If this game has got a look behind button or command, I will kick myself because I couldn't find it, and that's the only headache, is swinging round to get stuff behind you. The Beetlejuice, like sandworm, needs to kind of be killed in the vehicle efficiently. You could do it out, but it would take you about 45 minutes if you're of low rank within the game's abilities. But again, wrestling with that camera, it is quite difficult, but it understands that. It has a big auto aim on most of the guns, and slamming that thing with missiles is a complete joy. My advice would be don't go near that thing until you've got some reinforced armor and some cruise missiles going on. And that's another thing that isn't too clear that I will kick myself when you guys put in the comments where I find this, and that's my actual rank number. Everything you come across or find or fight or an event has got a difficulty rating to it, and I can't figure out what number I am. It's between 1 and 10. I'll go in at 7 on stuff and it will be okay, then I'll do a 4 and it will be crazy difficult. I just can't work it out. Still staying on vehicular combat, the Convoy system is absolutely genius. You have these massive packs of vehicles circulating the map all the time that have loot in them. Some of them are seriously high rank and you need some majorly cool equipment to get to the head vehicle.
It's going to take something real special to penetrate those energy shields.
There is a Love, Death and Robots Season 2, I'm going to say, with this chase almost identical with the train and massive robots that come out. I'll try and put a screen grab, but the exhilaration, the idea behind this, and it being live, running all the time, and there being numerous amounts of them and different rank. Look at the size of this bad boy.
Danger! Enemy fire incoming!
And no one told me how early you can get that mech unlocked. It's $100 to have delivered, and I don't think it comes with any weaponry to start with, but it's a mech by Joe. You have 30 seconds to comply, etc.
Warning! Enemy lock-on detected. 70% integrity.
Yeah, the horn is on L3. You'll find that out unwittingly. It's the complete polar opposite to the shotgun, let's put it that way. Now, there's something this game has also dropped the ball on, but it's okay because it's one of my fetishes with video games, as you all know, the photo mode. And some of the scenery, some of the sunsets, silhouettes, and absolutely beautiful backdrops within this video game, the photo mode does not allow you to take the UI off unless you're taking a snapshot. They don't get how I abuse these things. You know what I was thinking? I cannot be allowed to see Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC because all I've ever known is that PlayStation 4 base game. I've never seen it higher than 1080 or run at a decent frame rate or without any massive effects, which I probably assume are whacked in for top-end PCs. Yeah, as I say, not allowed it. Look at the sign swinging at the top of the screen there. I want to just cover some of this extracurricular combat mechanic because you'll see in the bottom left of the screen is a sort of crosshair with symbols in it. I've only got one of the 4 available. They do go crazy good. The defibrillator is kind of the first big corner turn with special powers. But you have a knockback on X once you have L1 in, I know. And it's kind of like an emergency move if stuff's right up in front of you. You've also got an overdrive mode, which I kind of avoided putting on as long as I could. You do need it. It's like go crazy, don't take much damage, do loads of damage, and it wants you to keep the combat going and flowing as opposed to getting into cover and being a bit of a puss. There is also a dodge, right, that's on the shoulders. If you've played Avowed or Cyberpunk 2077, this just feels completely natural. I cannot believe they put it in 2019 and it could be upgraded to a double. Again, this adds to the flow of the combat massively. Getting that pistol though, and then realizing that it was just sat there in an arc right next to kind of where you start. This is one liberating weapon. Essentially you're firing detonation darts onto things and then left triggering to explode, so you cannot aim down sights. Takes a bit of getting used to, but wow. I think Doom 2016 and Eternal are the only two first-person shooters that come even close to this level of excellence. And to have an open world and grenade tennis in it. What a gift, you know, and being completely oblivious to it a little bit as well on launch. I think we just had 2018, some of the best games on the entire systems came out in that year, and then we might have been snowblind to excellence, because going back at this at the spec it's supposed to be played at is one of the best things I've done in years. This was part of the legendary Saturday I had last week, and check out the Heat review because PC mid-range PlayStation 4 games can look unbelievably good. And talking of unbelievably good,
So we can finally get the Predator tank up and running.
this is also my third crack at the game. I've never actually 100% completed it, so I think I'm going to do that. But it's going to leave me high and dry. What sort of experience can give you this sort of adrenaline? Well, Doom Dark Ages, I'll have to time it, because I think every gamer worth their salt should have an id Software title that they're halfway through on their system all the time. I was Couch Coop. I will see you down there.